So welcome, we're down here now in the studio. So this is the live video portion of the vehicle. So we got both our diesel model as well as our gas model here, and you would probably notice that they look very similar. So we'll walk through a little bit differences of, what is Pro XD as a whole. We'll walk through it from the front to back, and then I'll explain during it how is diesel different from gas, okay? These are both marketing pre-production units, so there are a little bit different intricacies, which I'll explain as we go through here. Over on the diesel side, let's start with the plastics. It's probably the best. When I do a walk around, it's usually best to start at the front of the vehicle, and then we'll talk about the driveline and work our way through the cab and then the rear of the vehicle. So as we look at the styling of what Pro XD is, this is what we call a modified Titan styling. Titan was an old Ranger platform. And so we liked the styling of those plastics. They worked well. A lot of our improvements on Pro XD are more functional improvements. We didn't really focus too much on does the vehicle look good or is it look fast or powerful. This is a different vehicle. This is a work vehicle. And so with the styling of these plastics, you get more better sight lines from the cabin. And then with the actual texture of the plastics here, let me bring you over here quick because these are the production plastics. These are more of a matte finish. If you do more of like a glossy overmold, you're gonna get scratches all the time from when the vehicle leaves the warehouse and it gets delivered on site. You're already gonna have scratches on there. So we went with more of like a textured satin finish to really get rid of, so you don't see any kind of scratches like that. The gray is just more of a commercial color. We want this vehicle to look like a commercial grade vehicle. So it's the same gray as that's on the Brutus. Looking more at the plastics here, so up front we've got a front air intake. So really as the driver is driving, air comes in forward and drives in the front here. And the purpose of that, as I take this top off, the purpose of that is these are your front air intakes. And when you're driving on a dusty job site, the cleanest air that you're going to get is from the front. And so air rushes up, and then we've got two air intakes here. There's openings in the back here, so obviously when air comes up, or if stuff is flying up at it, you're not going to get dust. Dust will get blocked by this, but then the clean air will be sucked in from behind here. The air intakes route down and underneath the vehicle, and then one goes to the engine, and then the other one goes to the clutch. And I'll explain that when we get back more to the back of the vehicle. Underneath the hood here, we've got our typical radiator fluid. This is your horn that comes standard on all vehicles. And then right here is your Polaris pulse system. And so for our accessories now, we've switched to this like plug and play connector where these are just caps to keep it sealed. But if you want to put in some kind of powered accessory, you can easily take this cap out, and then when your accessory routes in, it just plug and play and you're ready to go. The connectors themselves have rubber grommets on them, so it does keep out any kind of dirt or dust that could get ingested in there. Looking at the rest of the front here, we've got the standard bumper. This comes standard. This vehicle has been updated with some accessories, so this is our winch that we have offered as an accessory. It doesn't come standard. And then this is our plow mount, so we do offer plows for people who want to put plows on it to plow driveways or anything like that. So we left these accessories on because this is a marketing unit. We'll probably put accessories back on to help display it in the future. Let's talk about tires for a little bit here. So these tires are a big deal for this vehicle. These are our Duro tires that we made specifically for Pro XD. One of the things to look at with this vehicle is the lugs on this tire are really tightly spaced together. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you protection on the job site from any screws or nails that are going to puncture it. The other thing that we did is the profile of the tire is more flat. If you look at more like recreational UTVs, you're going to see more of a rounded tire, and that's best for trail riding. But since these vehicles are going to be more on this concrete or asphalt, you've got like a nice flat surface where you get even wear across the tire, and that's going to help really with the total cost of ownership as well. You're not going to get balding in the center here. It's going to be a clean wear across the tire itself there. I mentioned in the presentation that these tires come with an 8-ply rating. What that means is that there's different layers within the tire itself on the walls. And so cheaper tires will have more of like a 4 or 6-ply tire. This is an 8-ply tire, so if a nail does go through it, it's going to have to puncture through 8 layers of material to get there. So that really helps with the longevity of this tire. Lastly, we worked with a manufacturer. They make all types of tires for different products. We had them put in a truck tire compound, so it's a harder rubber compound. It'll give the rubber itself more wear and longer lasting. Let's go over here a little more. I want to show you guys the driveline components here. So we've got your standard A-arm guards here, which will protect the A-arm. What we see a lot of issues with in the field for commercial vehicles is this is your first area that gets wrecked if it's on a tough job site environment. So what we did is we beefed up these, they're called CV boots. And behind these boots is a bunch of grease and gears in there. And what happens is if you have a lower grade boot, that will eventually rip and tear just from daily use. And then that grease falls out and you get a lot of components that just get ripped up from dirt or sand or rocks or anything like that. So by putting in more of an automotive grade component, that gives way more protection for that vehicle on the driveline. Additionally, we put in more sealed bushings and bearings within the driveline components here. So that also helps to seal off the environment so that you're not getting any more of that dirt or wet concrete type of stuff that will stick to it like glue and destroy those components over time. We really want to seal it off and protect it as best as possible. Okay, I think that's a good overview of kind of the front end of the vehicle. Let's walk over here more to the side. So this is one of our door offerings. This is what we call our hard poly crank door. This is a pretty heavy duty door. We've got our opening latch here, and then you've got crank windows that come all the way up and down. And then we've got a weather seal here that really help protect against the elements. What's important for these guys when they're driving on dusty or dirty job sites, their concern is more of a safety concern of dust getting in, and then obviously bad environments with dust getting in your lungs. So they're looking for a system that's airtight and watertight as well. So with this weatherproofing seal here, you can see it'll fit in this channel on the ROPS here, and that's what's really creating that sealed environment to keep all the elements out. The doors themselves are pretty easy to install. We've got just simple bolt hinges here and up here as well, and then you can see the door just slides on over this pin, and so if it's really easy to put on or take off if you want. As every Pro-Xceed vehicle will change a little bit slightly from vehicle to vehicle. The ROPS might be a little bit different or not. We've got certain play on when we install the doors here, like these bolt up here or over here, where there's a little bit of a slot, like a little slot in there. So if the dealer is trying to install the door, they can make sure that that door is fit specifically for this vehicle. So if you see any kind of gaps like in here when the door is shut or down here, they can adjust it this way within these slots to make it fit. Okay, as we get in the cab here, you'll notice we've got our seats that we talked about. These are the heavy-duty seats. So I would call these seats, the similar material that you see on like school buses or even like airplanes. We called it's a Kevlar vinyl, and so beneath this heavy-duty vinyl is another Kevlar fabric behind it. And so our purpose for this is, with workers on the job site, they got screwdrivers in their pockets, or they got sharp equipment they're moving in, and they'll just rest it on here. We want to give the seats a good protection from any of just daily use that could puncture just your typical vinyl seats. And so by doing that, it really helps to protect kind of the seat from the elements. Because if you do cut and rip through it and you don't have a cab like this, then water will get in, it'll soak the seats full, and then you'll get mold and mildew, and then the rental branch will have to physically replace the entire seat. And so it's it's a lot of work for them. This is probably one of the higher items that they were tackling with replacing. Also with the seats, you'll notice that it's a lighter gray. We did this because a lot of our vehicles go down in the south and they see a lot of the hot sun, and so the seats get heat soaked. So by offering a lighter color gray, the seats aren't as hot, and so when the operator comes and sits down, it's not going to burn their legs or anything, or their back on here. Additionally, we've got our orange seat belts here, so that's what we talked about. So when the person is in the vehicle, You can see that it's very highly visible on the job site. And so this is for your job site supervisor who could be maybe a half mile away that's surveying the entire job site. They can look far away and see is the person wearing their seatbelt or not. Talking more about the cab here, we've got 6 cup holders. So we've got 4 in the dash here and we got 2 beneath. And then on the crew models, which we don't have available here, there's another row of seats and then there's another 2 more cup holders there for them. So in total, we got 8 cup holders, lots of storage. Up here is kind of a cool thing where you can put your cell phone in there like that. So a lot of job site workers, they'll have radios or something they can put in these components or even just in the cup holders themselves. We've got more storage here for glove boxes. This is more of a weather-tight glove box for anyone that wants to keep any stuff in there, out of the elements. We've got some storage down here for tools. People use that quite a bit. Talking more about the driver compartment here, you've got your basic steering wheel. So you got tilt steering that comes standard on all models. We've got our B1 display, it's what it's called. This is our display for all Pro XDs, so it's the same on both diesel and gas. With diesel, you'll notice that this is the glow plug indicator. So we'll start that up. It'll probably stay lit for about 10 or 15 seconds while the glow plugs heat up. And then once it goes away, you're able to start the engine. Looking at the start sequence for Pro XD, one of the safety features that we put in is that the vehicle can only be started with the foot on the brake, and then the gear selector has to be in either park or neutral. Once all of those requirements are met, then you can start the vehicle. So in this case, if you put it all the way up and try to start the vehicle, it won't start. Okay. Another thing on here is for a reverse. This is the reverse warning, so you guys can hear what that sounds like. So that's what the reverse sounds like. Over here in the middle of the dash, these are the diesel variants. So let me push the gear selector up, you can see. This is the mechanical parking brake that we were talking about. So we already have park in the gear selector here, but then we've got another separate mechanical parking brake. So you pull that out, and that's what engages the parking mechanism in this. To disengage it, you turn clockwise, push it back in, and you're good. Over here, we've got our standard horn. And then over on the dash here, we've got some operator faults that we can let them know about. So this is a software thing that we implemented with Pro XD. There's a couple fault warnings that we can put in. So if the engine is overheating, or if there's low oil pressure, or if the mechanical parking brake is out and the driver tries to drive through it, or if there's the belt is slipping, those 4 instances are all warnings that we can put in on the dash here. And so when those happen, the display triggers a audible sound and then a visual light that flashes at them to say, hey, stop, something's wrong. We took that capability a little bit step further and integrated it with digital wrench. So when the dealer gets the vehicle back, if they're a rental house or something, or if the dealer wants to check into the vehicle, they can pull up digital wrench, and they've got a counter that has those 4 instances, and they can see how many times that happened. So if you're like a rental company and you rent this vehicle out, and then you bring it back and look at that counter, and you see, hey, there was like 5 belt slips during your rental period. What were you towing? Were you doing something you shouldn't be? So it gives the rental branch a little bit more material to go back to the customer, say, is there something that you were doing wrong with the vehicle? Or if it's an owner of the vehicle and they bring it to the dealer can look at it and they can get a better idea of what was happening, a little bit more of a story behind why the vehicle failed in some way or not. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the cabin there. Close it up. Lastly on the cabin, so all keys are keyed alike for Pro XD. So the same key that fits in the diesel will fit in the gas. And the reason we did that is because these are designed to be fleet vehicles. So at the end of the day, when the worker is done, they will take the key out and usually throw it in a box or something. And then the next day when they come out again to do their work, they're going to try to find, in the old ways, they were going to try to find the one key that fit with their one vehicle. Whereas this instance, the key is the same. So you can just go in, grab a key, and they know it'll work. The key is the same on both diesel and gas, and then it's also the same with these doors. So they can use the same key in the ignition as well as these doors that we have. That key is just one code of the Ranger keys. So if someone requests that they say, you know, I don't want the same key for each vehicle, I want separate keys like it used to be, we do have that capability if you guys want it. Okay, moving towards the back here, I'll show you guys. So this is our extra long box that we call. So this is the same box as Brutus, for those of you that are familiar with the Brutus vehicle. This is big enough to hold a full-size pallet. It can be shown here with the gas model. This is a longer box than our typical Ranger offerings. And so to accommodate this larger box, we actually had to stretch the chassis back a little bit. It gives us a couple benefits as well. It accommodates the larger box, but it also gives you more access inside here between the tire and the chassis. Looking more at it here, we've got our Kubota engine, so this is the diesel model variant. We've got a 140 amp alternator, which is more than powerful enough to power any kind of work accessories like a winch or a heater kit, which draws a lot of power, any kind of lighting, that type of stuff. Over here you can see this is our dipstick. So we colored this handle yellow, so it's very easy to identify. So that just pulls out like that. This is your oil filter, so this is another common part that the customer will change, so very easily accessible. And then this is our fan guard, so there's a fan behind this shield, and that helps to dissipate some of the heat from the engine. Looking at some of the ductwork, when we talked about the air intakes up front, this is where they go. And so the air ducts, they route through, and then this is the clutch duct, so it'll blow air across the engine here and help dissipate a lot of that heat. So we've gotten a lot of positive comments saying, I'm surprised how cool the engine runs. And that was a lot of work that engineering did to help dissipate a lot of that heat so we're not burning up oil or creating problems in the engine. One of the things too here is these are the bigger heavy duty shocks. And so you'll notice these are called progressive shocks. So it's wider spacing here, but then it gets tighter up here. That really helps us for heavy load carrying capacities. So when you do put about 700 pounds in the box, which is what we consider your average daily carrying capacity, the vehicle will only squat maybe about an inch. And so it's a stiff ride, but it's designed more for work applications. It's not supposed to be super ultra comfortable. The vehicle is definitely comfortable to sit in, but it's geared more towards work applications. So by having these heavy duty shocks, we can put in up to 1,250 pounds of weight in the box. You'll also notice we don't have it on this model, we have it on the gas one, but there is a gas shock assist here to help them. We have as an accessory a powered lift assist, so we can install it as an accessory. It bolts in the back here, and then there's a wire that runs up to the front with a switch that you can raise and lower the bed if you would like. Okay, we'll close this up. Let's look over here. This is the gas model, so very similar to the diesel. A couple of differences here. So you notice that this is the gas engine, so that's the Polaris engine that we have, the 1000 single overhead cam. This is your air filter, so it's also very easily accessible with the box down. So basically you take that out, that's your air filter. And so this is we call it a Donaldson cyclonic air filter because it's an oval shape. There's other air filters which are just flat panels. This is great for more commercial applications because you see so much dust. So this is, I think, 3 times more dust that it can take than like a flat panel. So basically when you want to go look and see how is your air filter doing, you just take this cap off, pull this out, check it. If there's any dust inside here, that's when you want to make sure you change it out. The manufacturer does say you don't need to check it a lot because by checking it, pulling it out, that probably ingests more dust into the machine than if we were to just leave it. So they do recommend that you only check it when you really need to. Now on that note, we do offer an accessory. It's a little meter that checks the vacuum of the engine of the air that's pulling, and that way it's like a visual indicator to see if the filter does need change or not. So we do have an accessory for that. If you guys want to mention that to your dealers, it's a good way to just visually see, do I need to change it out or not? Okay. Looking at the gas caps here, so one thing you can tell between diesel and gas just visually is looking at the gas cap. So diesel has a green gas cap, gas will have a black gas cap. One of the things we did here too is when you pull it out, you can see we have a tether here. So that tether is locked inside the fuel tank. We see a lot of old machines that don't have this, and they lose the gas cap, and so what happens is people will stuff in rags or something, and that's just not safe. So we include a tether here to keep the gas cap attached and on there. One of the things for the gas here I want to show you guys, both diesel and gas come with a heater kit. So with our setup of these vehicles, this one does have a heater kit. Obviously, this wouldn't be a perfect application because we don't have doors on this vehicle, but we did install a heater kit for this to show kind of the application. So we have vents here that are more like automotive grade vents. We've got defrost up here, and the whole heating system is included down here in the dash, and you've got certain knobs to turn it for the fan speed. Other than that, differences for gas, it's got the same serviceability components as diesel. You can still check the air filter and the oil dipstick and the oil filter as well. Let me bring you over here on the side for gas, if possible, just so you guys can see what this gas engine looks like. Very similar setup where it's in here in the back of the engine, you got the same similar exhaust routings that go in the back. So for gas, that's where your oil dipstick is, and then the oil filter is right behind it. And as a reminder, the diesels, they're 200 hours service intervals. So when I talk about service intervals, it's really changing the oil filter, changing the oil, and for gas, same thing. And all of that information is located in the owner's manual of different intervals of when you should change what and when. One last thing to note on these machines is the hubs. So in the rears of these hubs, these are, it's a ductile iron, so it's a stronger hub in the back here. And that's great for if you're really carrying heavy loads in like sand settings, where you're gonna see a lot of torque on this wheel here. So we upgraded those hubs so that if you're in deep sand and you're towing or hauling quite a bit, those hubs can handle that. Whereas other competitors, it's just regular steel hubs that don't have that added durability.